you got pain, he's a pain taker. If you feel lost, he's a way maker. If you need freedom or saving, he's a prison shaking savior. If you got chains, he's a chain breaker.
Hello, my name is Tabitha Wilson.
My name's Chelsea Brewer-King.
My name is Chris Clem.
I'm James Onie.
I'm Lois.
I'm Ryan.
My name's Justin Walters.
And you were listening to a special episode of The Local Lens. This week, we are on site at the S.P.A.R.K Recovery Rally. So this is an event that happens once a year. It's ran by S.P.A.R.K Ministries out of Stanton, Kentucky, which is Special People Advocating Recovery Kentucky. That is the nonprofit ran by Janelle Brewer, who we have interviewed before on this show. So going to this rally is a great way to meet a lot of people who are in this realm. So to record this episode, I went to the rally and interviewed several people that I met there. I wanted to capture the spirit of this recovery rally so that I could see why people thought it was important enough to do it every year. And it turns out people think it's important because it gives them hope. It's all about hope. Well, let's go on and get into the episode. This is The Local Lens. We're coming from Stanton, Kentucky, a small town nestled at the foothills of Appalachia, and we're going inside our community's experience with the drug epidemic. We've been losing too many of our people to this stuff, so we're just trying to figure out ways to make our community safer and healthier for everyone in it. So please share this show with a friend who needs to hear it. This is The Local Lens. These are our people, using our voices, telling our stories, because no one sees it like we do. So the way that we're doing this episode is we have 5 different interviews, and they're all just a few minutes long, and we're going to get things kicked off with Tabitha Wilson here.
Hello, my name is Tabitha Wilson. I'm originally from Powell County. I'm a native of Powell County. I have not lived in here in approximately 13 years.
You dropped the accent.
Yeah. Well, I've lived different places. I went to Mount Pleasant, Michigan, and when I went there, they're like, "Where are you from?" I'd walk into gas stations. They'd be like, "Can you just keep talking?" Just to hear the accent. But from there, I've also lived in Atlanta. I, of course, have family here, and I always come back to visit. But today, God has brought me here for a purpose. The S.P.A.R.K rally has been an absolute blessing. It is very important for the hope in recovery. People that is addicted and people that goes through the pain of addiction, the family members that go through it, sometimes they get lost in that hurt and that pain that the addiction has caused. But the S.P.A.R.K rally has given an inspiration and restored that hope. Also allowed people to know that it's okay to feel. It's very important for people to understand that they're not defined by the things that they have been through. Addiction is extremely hard on everyone, but there is a way out. And sometimes we might feel like there's not a way. We come from a small town. Powell County has so much beauty, but there's also so much hurt that's here. Because, of course, with it being so small, so many people do go through addiction. However, what's happened here today has been beautiful, and I truly believe that it's left people encouraged and inspired, and it's very important to keep pushing. Sometimes it just takes that one little positive nudge to let someone know that they're not what they've been through and they can recover.
And Tabitha is a new author. She had actually just gotten her book published when we spoke.
So this book is an autobiography about my life and my story. The darkness that I went through, the pain that I went through is very raw. It's very real. It's very rated R. It's not for everyone. But the book is the truth. And when I wrote this book, it was very hard and it was very painful. I went through a series of emotions, just reliving some traumatic experiences that I had went through. And I've had it written for 5 years, but it just got published yesterday. The book is not only my truths, but it shows how I healed through the things that I went through. And that's why I say, you can recover. You can overcome. You just have to have that desire to do it. But the book is called Guilt, Hurt, Shame, but Not Defeat. because I was not defeated. I'm no longer a victim. I'm a victor. I don't look like what I've been through. And if God can do it for me, he can do it for anyone. So yes, it will be available on Amazon. I'll also have it on my Facebook page. I have a website that's being made right now. It'll be ready in about 2 weeks. So you can purchase it directly through my website, which is called refinedperspective.com. So once that's up in a couple of weeks, you can purchase it there. You can purchase it on Amazon. And I'm also going to be at Court Day, October the 15th through the 18th. I have a booth there, and I am doing book signings. So that's something that's super excited. I'll have a lot of books, and I'm going to do my signing there, and then I plan to travel and do more other places.
So we've got links to her book where you can buy it down below in the bio. So go check it out to buy her book.
The title of the book is Guilt, Hurt, Shame, but Not Defeat.
Great. What a beautiful thing. Well, thank you so much, Tabitha.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
So we'd like to send a big thanks to Tabitha Wilson for doing this. And now we're moving on to Lois Goodwin and Ryan Robinson. So we've done an episode previously with Lois, and this is her fiance, Ryan Robinson, who's coming on to tell part of his story.
I'm Lois.
I'm Ryan. I moved away in 94, and I went to like 4 different high schools, man. Dealt with a lot of issues. I had some childhood trauma as well. And, next thing you know, I ended up being strung out on drugs. Come back to Powell County. Was pretty much, in and out of jail the whole time, and still, blame everybody else for my problems, and all that good stuff. But I ended up making front page as most wanted in 2017, in a drug roundup they had here, which ultimately that led me, finding my way into a rehab. And I remember being in a jail cell, and I was coming off fentanyl, and I cried out for God to help me. And it's like I went into a seizure, and I never lost consciousness, but I was able to go to sleep, and once I was moved from there, I went to a jail cell. I could pick a Bible up, and I was able to understand it for the first time in my life. And God he changed me that quick. I've been involved in recovery now for 17 months. I'll be getting married in October to Lois, which she's got a couple more months clean than I do. But man, it's just everything that comes from God, man. It's been a blessing. Not have to go back and worry about really if I was going to be okay for the day or for a week from now or 2 weeks from now, and really just not have to worry about anything, man. I put it in God's hands now. The whole time I was out there, I guess I was really searching for something to love, and I had a hole in my heart, man. And couldn't find nothing to fit it, no drug, no body, no person, no nothing, and until I found God, and he was a perfect fit for that hole, So I like telling everybody I had a God-shaped hole in my heart that only he could fill, and he did, man. And just everything, him. I met Lois in a church house, when she was giving her testimony, and just everything that's come from God, man. It's just been so great, it's so awesome, and I have to stay plugged in by doing things like the S.P.A.R.K rallies or cheering groups in Richmond at the Helping Hands Outreach, where I'm more involved in recovery in Richmond than I am in Powell County. Mm-hmm. But it's just, man, God's moved everything so fast. I have a purpose, a plan. And I have a life now. Something I never had before. 28 years, man. The devil controlled my life. Mm-hmm. It was about getting high and just one mistake after another, and me never understanding why. But I realized I was a problem. My choices was a problem. And God called me out of the darkness. And here I sit today. Blessed and highly favored.
So the S.P.A.R.K recovery rally happens in downtown Stanton, right across from the courthouse, right outside the courthouse. So I asked Ryan how it felt to be right there by the courthouse and the jail when he used to be on the most wanted list.
Well, I got to stand in the same prayer circle as the sheriff and actually the detective who was over my case when I got arrested, and I'm thankful, and I'm grateful. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be where I'm at, and it's just kind of crazy because God will bring you back to familiar situations in a different turn, not just for you but for other people to see as well. But and I wouldn't go back for nothing. I mean, it's crazy. I actually have, like I said, I have a purpose and a plan now. Mm-hmm. Nothing else could have done that for me but God. Me at my own demise, man. I am my own demise. I'm my own. I self-destruct every time out there. But just having God. Just praying to stay in his will, and keep me away from mine because, I'm no good without him.
So Ryan and Lois are two people who are both in recovery for roughly the same amount of time who are now getting married. By the time this episode is released, they will be married. So first of all, congratulations to them. But second of all, I'm curious if how much their relationship has to do with their recoveries.
He understands, like, some things I go through, and I understand some things he goes through. Whereas if he wasn't, in recovery, he wouldn't understand that, or I wouldn't understand. I just take mine to God, and, like, he's the number one in everything that I'm doing, so.
He's been the foundation of our relationship, man. God has.
We put him first. And
the recovery aspect is just, it's like a secondary part of it, man. We both want a relationship that will glorify God. He brought us together. It wasn't nothing we done. I met her in a church house when she was giving her testimony. I got to draw strength off of her giving her testimony. That gave me the courage to be able to give mine. So, it's definitely a lot of, positive attributes, from us being together. I'm definitely stronger with her than I am without her.
And that's a pretty good sign for pretty much any couple out there anywhere. So thanks to Ryan and Lois for being on the show with us. Now we're going to move on to Chelsea Brewer King. So just to give a little bit of background on Chelsea, this is Janelle Brewer's daughter, and she may have been the first time Casey's Law was used in Powell County. But that's not the reason why she's on this episode with us today. She is also fairly newlywed. They've been married for a year and a half now, and she is starting kind of a new walk in life. So let's go on and get into it with Chelsea.
My name's Chelsea Brewer King.
You're both in recovery.
Yes.
And you met, it was a rehab romance.
It was.
That is such
a
funny name for something.
Even like people in treatment, they were like this, you guys are never going to see each other again. But we were like, we love each other and stuff. Like, it was so like just puppy dog love or whatever. And, we were vulnerable. Because, and then, I don't know, it was like God seemed fit for us to be together because we both got out the same day. He got out a day before me, which was crazy. I mean, what are the odds of that? And I don't know, we stayed together and we're still together.
Well, good.
Married,
cheers to it.
Yeah, married with our own home. We both work every day. We take care of our kids, our bills. That's a big deal to people like us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Other people are like, that's normal. No, not for me.
Well, you mentioned right before we started doing this back here that like the recovery isn't a part of your all's relationship. And then you mentioned earlier too that it's the only reason addiction isn't a part of your life. The only reason you consider yourself still in this world is to help other people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We don't ever talk about our past. We don't reminisce about it. We don't glorify our past drug use. We don't even talk about it. We just move forward, and we don't. Our recovery, some people do AA, some people do church, some people. My recovery is my family. Getting up and working and just supporting the people I love and myself. That's what keeps me clean. Honestly. Great.
So when you're looking at stuff like this, like the recovery rally happening today, why do you come do this stuff then? If it's not for your recovery,
it's for my recovery to be reminded where I was, because because I don't think about it or talk about it in our home doesn't mean that it's not still there, because it is. I am one slip up away from being right back to where I was from the beginning of my testimony, out doing this and that, one slip up away. So I just stay, like my mom said before she introduced me, she don't really leave. She said she don't go many places, and I don't. I stay home. I work from home. I have a great job sitting in my house, and I think I might go to the Kroger. That's my exciting trip of the day. I get to go to the grocery store, and I love it because that's just compared to what I used to do, and then going to Kroger being the only thing I do exciting. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
So I come here because first of all I want to support my mom and what she's done, and second because S.P.A.R.K changed me as well. They wouldn't be where I'm at.
I'd like to send a big thanks to Chelsea and to Quentin both, and that was baby Brixley. You could start to hear crying in the background of that as well. How cute is she? Goodness gracious. So by this point, though, you should be picking up that a lot of this rally is about passing hope on to other people who desperately need that hope. So we're going to move on now to Chris Clem, who is the musician playing at the intro of this episode, and he's going to share his story. We had to cut down quite a bit of it just to fit in the time slot, but these are some of the big parts.
My name is Chris Clem. I'm a grateful believer in Christ who has struggled with drugs and alcohol and codependency. 16, I started, smoking again, hanging around the wrong crowd. At 18, I left church. And I really tried to reshape my identity, because what had happened to me at 16, my identity was taken away. So this biological father was trying to meet me and learn about me, but yet my dad was telling me, he's not your dad. So I was conflicted for many years, and I began drinking terribly. For 5 years, I was either high or drunk every day. And this went on for years. I lived up here in Stanton for a little while. I had a child up here, and I ruined that relationship because of my addiction. Ended up back home. And, I don't say this very much, but I was actually homeless after that because I didn't move in anywhere, and I slept at work or where whoever would let me, at a party, sleep it off. And a lot of times I didn't sleep. When everybody passed out, I got up and walked to my mom's and went in her garage. So alcohol became my life. I was consumed by it. Bourbon. We called it whiskey back then. Nobody called it bourbon. But at the height of my bottom was I get half gallon of liquor, and then I would still drink more. When I had access to it where I was working, I would order a case of whiskey a week, and me and this other guy would go through that whiskey, as well as the customers that ordered, which it was a golf course, so not a lot, but some. And when this guy died, I tried to drink that case by myself, and I couldn't. So I was literally going down the same path a lot of people had went down and lost their lives in their 20s, and I really thought I would lose mine. I tell people, your bottom is as deep as you want to dig it. When people hit bottom, you can have a shallow bottom or you can lose everything. And I thank God that I had a shallow bottom.
So much like Dr. Alex Ellswick had just told us about in the previous couple episodes, Chris Clem didn't go into a treatment program to start his recovery. He found it through hiking, but he ended up finding it helpful to have people around him.
I didn't do any kind of recovery at first. I was really hard-headed, and I needed to be. I had to believe what I believed at that time to keep me going forward. But I realized about 5 years in I needed recovery. So I got hooked up with Celebrate Recovery, which is a 12-step program where Jesus Christ is the only high power. The principles are based on Scripture. And actually, the principles are based on the Beatitudes, and the steps are based on Scripture. And my wife was doing it. She needed help. So I went and helped her, and it changed my life. Doing this is part of my recovery, is taking what I have found and sharing it with others. And you cannot keep it if you don't give it away. So, I will tell my story anywhere, at a kitchen table, on a podcast, at a rally, in a church, in a jail, in a prison, in a restaurant. We give out serenity rags with a serenity prayer on it, and they're a shop rag. And we just, we want other people to know, I can't fix you, but I know somebody that can. Yeah. So that's what our ministry is all about.
Well, thank you for doing this, man. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And the hat, I have to note the hat because people can't see it. It says Hope Dealer.
So once I was a hopeless dope addict. Now I'm a dopeless hope addict. I used to deal drugs. Now I deal hope.
That's pretty good, man.
So I'm not a dope dealer. I'm a hope dealer.
So thanks to Chris for coming on the show. We appreciate it, man. Thanks for telling your story with us. And now we're moving on to James Onie.
I'm James Onie. I'm also an addict in long-term recovery. I work for Mountain Comp here in S.P.A.R.K County. I was an addict for a little bit over 15 years. And that led me to end up going to jail for trafficking and a long list of other things, and along that way, I was given the option to either go on to prison or go to rehab. Rehab sounded like a great idea compared to prison.
Yeah.
And honestly, I went to rehab just as a furlough, just to get out of jail. To be able to do what I wanted to do, and smoke cigarettes and drink L8s and go outside. And along the way, I had my spiritual awakening, and I realized, what's the worst could happen. I complete the program, and I leave, and I could go on and to get high, or I could do something different. Yeah, so and along the way, 11 and a half months later, I walked out the door, and I had a different outlook on life. I didn't know any longer feel like I was hopeless. I felt like I was full of hope. And I was blessed with the chance to work with Pathways. I was previously left there after almost 10 years. I worked there as the addictions peer support. I was part of the outreach program, which allowed me to work with the jails, go to the needle exchanges, and do events just like what we're doing here today. Along the way, I really wanted to be back in my hometown, the place where my addiction really took hold and destroyed my life. This is the place where there's not a whole lot of treatment or recovery options. It's pretty well jail or death here, and I just want to try to bring that hope back to this community and try to help as many people as possible along the way.
So when it's a really neat kind of homecoming story for you then, and when you're at something like this recovery rally, is that doing anything for you now, or do you see that as just like a way to help other people with?
It continues to give me hope, that the community is slowly coming together, and everybody's forming those bonds. Everybody is here for the same common goal. Mm-hmm. They want to help, and continue to refer to each other. It's like if I can't provide the best care for someone, and the company up the street can, that's where I'm going to refer to, and vice versa. Yeah.
That's pretty good then. Yeah. How do you know if something's going to work for somebody or not, and you have to send them somewhere else? What does that look like?
That's kind of like if they keep doing the same stuff over and over,
okay.
Or if they're just not being receptive to, my approach or the things I have to offer. They might need something a little bit different.
That makes sense. Yeah. So if I'm going to ask you this question, it's one of my favorite things to ask people. If I give you a megaphone and tell you can address whoever you want to with this megaphone, who are you going to talk to, and what are you going to tell them?
I would have to, probably stand up in front of the court system, as in general, and be like, look, there is hope. There is, it is possible for us to recover, and go down that recovery road. Don't give up on everybody that walks in here and condemn them to a life in prison.
James, thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us. We really appreciate it, man. Love your approach to this. Love your outlook on it. Thank you for your words. We've got one more left for you guys. It's Justin Walters.
All right, my name's Justin Walters, and I'm in recovery. I've been clean since 11/11/2018. And what this rally means to me is it's a chance for, the Bible says, so let your light so shine among men. Okay, and this gets us up and out of out into the public eye, so that way that newness of life that God's given us, a second chance, so that we can show our light amongst men, so that we can show that we do recover, that there is hope, no matter what we are going through, it don't have to be the end, there's a lot of people out there in this community, in the surrounding communities, and they're just hopeless, like they just can't see a way out. And if I could just get one thing to them, you know, we do recover. There is hope. And I just want you to know that I love you and that God loves you too, and that there is so many resources available to you. There's so many people that just volunteer all their time just to getting people help into the places they need, whether you're an addict or you're homeless or whatever kind of issues you got going on. There is an answer, and there is a route to that, you know. And for me, it all began with surrendering everything to Jesus. You know, like I cried out to Jesus in a jail cell, and I just give it all to him. I said, Lord, I said, if you get me out of here, I said, I won't ever live the way I used to live. And I've spent every single day living with all my might and strength for him, you know. And of course we have little mess ups, you know, but like I'm not ever went backwards and used drugs. You know, like I've always stayed on that straight and narrow, you know, because my mind was made up, you know, that I was going to serve him, you know, and that's what it all boils down to. For me, it was all about surrendering to him, his way, not my way. He knew better, because, I mean, like, I drive DUI drunk. Man, like, with my life, I go from ditch to ditch. I don't know, you know, but like when I surrender to the creator of the entire universe, when I do that, I get that peace that passes all understanding.
So we're not saying that this is the only way to get to recovery, but it is a way that has definitely worked for these guys.
You know, addiction can leave people feeling that guilt, that hurt, that shame, and that defeat. But we can overcome, and it comes through surrender. We have to surrender. We have to have a desire to never give up. When you lose that desire to keep pushing, that's when you lose yourself. But you can come out, and that's what I will leave everybody with. You can come out.
You can reach S.P.A.R.K Ministries anytime at 606-344-4103. Once again, that's 606-344-4103. Now here's Chris Clem to play us out today.
We've all searched for the light of day in the dead of night. We've all found ourselves worn out from the same old fight. We've all run to things we know that just ain't right. But there's a better life. There's a better life. If you've got pain, he's a pain taker. If you feel lost, he's a way maker. If you need freedom or saving, he's a prison shaking savior. If you got chains, he's a chain breaker.
Thank you all for listening today. This has been The Local Lens from the Powell County Health Department in Kentucky, Rio. I would like to thank all of our guests for coming on again, and a big thanks to WSKV for broadcasting the show for us. This is The Local Lens. I'm your host, Nate Brooks. These are our people, using our voices, telling our stories, because no one sees it like we do.